I decided to do something a little bit different last night. I haven't watched NXT a lot over the past year plus or so. Occasionally, I may watch a show. More likely than not, I'd skip it. I might check out a match or a segment or on YouTube, something like that. But it's not something that's generated a lot of interest out of me. Now, I've heard a lot of people talk about NXT very glowingly, saying in a lot of cases that it might be their favorite wrestling show on television or out there, period, whatever you want to say. So I decided last night I was going to check out this 2-hour live NXT ArRIVAL kind of pay-per-view that was being live streamed on the WWE Network. Now, it sounds like some people had varied issues with the WWE Network and the stream. Apparently, Tyler Breeze's blue steel or magnum look froze up so many people streaming. I did it on my laptop through Internet Explorer because for some reason my Google Chrome browser won't run the WWE Network. If anybody has any ideas as to why that might be, let me know in the comments down below. I didn't really have much in the way of issues. I was able to watch the whole show pretty much just fine, and hopefully that's a good indication that things will only get better as we head closer to their biggest show of the year, WrestleMania, that'll be live streaming on the WWE Network. What I don't get is why so many people are sitting there and streaming a live stream. Come on, it's $9.99 a month. Jiminy Christmas. If you say, well, I don't want to support their product, well, yeah, you're still watching them. Come on, man. Stop being bums. Anyway. So, I know Mr. Parkin is going to sit there and say, lay off the NXT reviews, brother. I did them first, brother. Well, you know what? Hashtag, it doesn't matter. Hashtag, now it matters because the Schleg Daddy's doing it. Hashtag, the Schleg Daddy does it better. All that stuff can apply, Mr. Parkin. So that's just too damn bad. Now, I don't know if I'm going to do NXT reviews every week or not. I don't know about that yet, so don't hold me to it. But you're at least getting this one. Now, some of the things that stood out to me during this 2-hour show from a positive sense. I was digging the presentation of the product. The pre-show with Nash and Heyman and Bret Hart I thought was interesting. I thought Kevin Nash appeared to be hammered. Bret Hart kind of looked at me like, I got to say some of this crap. And Heyman was Heyman, and that was really good. I love the use of some of the interviews that they did. It was great to see Alex Riley, especially in the post-show stuff where he's doing the interviews on the YouTube channel. He's interviewing Adrian Neville and Antonio Cesaro and Stephanie McMahon, and she just looked at him like she wanted to fuck him. I know, Stephanie. Paul's only giving you daughters, and you think ArRIVAL gives you sons. I understand that. He emanates all sorts of masculinity. I clearly get why you would think that and understand that and have longing, loving eyes for him. I get that. So anyways, but the presentation I thought was relatively pretty good. A lot of emphasis on the in-ring stuff, not so much emphasis on the bullshit for a newer audience. And, I would classify myself as a newer audience to NXT because, like I said, in general, I haven't watched a lot of it. So a lot of these characters you needed to introduce me to, a lot of these potentially storylines that you had to introduce me to. And I think they did a good job of that throughout the night, especially in the cases of the Cesaro-Zayn match, the Emma and Paige NXT Women's Championship match, the Neville-Bo Dallas ladder match for the NXT title at the end of the show. And they did good jobs of introducing you to some of the other characters like the Ascension and so on and so forth. I think it was very important. They treated this as if it was kind of a debut show in the sense that a lot of people that might be checking it out hadn't checked out NXT before. So they needed to give you the background and introduce you to some of these characters and why some of these characters have issues or have history. They did a very good job there. Antonio Cesaro versus Sami Zayn was a really good statement match to kick off NXT ArRIVAL. A really damn good match with a good story heading into it. And that's the type of thing that could get exposure for somebody. I'm glad that the match booked out the way that it did with Cesaro winning because Sami Zayn shouldn't beat Cesaro at this point in time. Some may disagree, but I do not, of course. But a really, really good match. And if you're going to emphasize that this is the type of stuff that you're going to get on NXT, that's a good way to get an initial audience and retain a potential initial audience, and if not, grow your initial audience. It was very, very well done. Emma and Paige for the NXT Divas title, it was funny to me when Stephanie came out and she said that these girls are the future of the Divas division. And then I see Emma doing this, and I see Paige, and I'm like, oh my God, that's the future. But then they got in the ring and they had a really good women's match. You could almost say slightly tore it up. So if that's the future of the women's division from an in-ring standpoint, then hell yeah, nothing wrong with that at all. It was really cool to see Too Cool wrestle the Ascension. I didn't realize how big and fat Conor O'Brien had gotten. My God, he bulked up quite a bit since the last time I saw him. That was another thing that stood out to me. Bringing in a veteran tag team that knows what they're doing to work with somebody like the Ascension, to teach the Ascension something about working in the ring and help get them better and put them over. That's how it should be done. I think, frankly, you should see more of that out of NXT, where you have some of these veterans that aren't being utilized on TV on a week-in, week-out basis actually come down, work programs with some of these younger guys. Because what I don't understand is how a green guy versus a green guy, either one of them's ever going to get any better. If they're at the same skill level, how are they ever going to get any better? To me, you have to work with somebody that's better. You have to face somebody that's better in order to become better. So something like the Ascension versus Too Cool, I was totally for. And like I said, in general, they put the emphasis on the in-ring action. You had some really good matches here. Adrian Neville winning the NXT title, kind of similar to Sami Zayn at the beginning, even though he lost. It seemed like WWE was trying to make it a point and an emphasis that these were two guys for you to watch out for the future. So, you're utilizing this initial NXT ArRIVAL show to kind of really introduce these guys to your audience and say, hey, this is the present of NXT, and these guys will be part of the future of the WWE. A lot of good things on this show. Now, some of the things that I didn't particularly care for on this show, when I see some of the names of some of these guys, I know it's something I talked about before, but like, you've got, CJ Parker, and he's supposed to be kind of like this hippie flower child, moon-loving, whatever the fuck you want to call him. CJ Parker, in no way, shape, or form really says to me hippie or flower child, or why couldn't he be like Moonbeam or something like that? You know what I mean? Some off-the-wall kind of hippie name. If he's going to be a hippie character, why not have that? Mojo Rawley, I think the WWE is very high on him. I am not. I didn't really see anything that particularly impressed me all that much, frankly. Tyler Breeze and his Magnum and blue steel looks and his gimmicks, hey, that's great. But I don't really see a lot there either, frankly. It's just me. That's just me. And actually, the main event, they made a big deal about this being the first ever ladder match in NXT history, and they made this big deal about Adrian Neville versus Bo Dallas and their story. And it's funny, isn't it, when you look at Bo Dallas, you're like, wow, that's Bray Wyatt's brother. Isn't that something? But I actually thought that main event match was a little disappointing. I was really, frankly, expecting a whole lot more than I got out of it. Now, I know a lot of people are going to kiss its ass all day long because Adrian Neville won, and that's fine. I don't care. Why couldn't Adrian Neville have a one-word name like he did when he was Pac for all the years on the indie scene? Why can't he be a one-word guy? Why does he have to be like Adrian Neville? It just sounds very lame. Maybe I'm nitpicking here on the names, but seriously. You've come up with some good names, WWE, recently, but you've also come up with a lot of bad ones. And Adrian Neville, I don't know about all that. But yeah, this match, the main event, I actually didn't think was all that great. Now, Pac, Adrian Neville, his Red Arrow finish, I thought was outstanding when he sits there and he jumps, does this kind of corkscrew, shooting star press on a Bo Dallas on the ladder. That's impressive. But for a ladder match, you would expect so much more, frankly, than I think we actually got on this show. A good moment seeing Pac get that moment and becoming the new NXT champion, and that's all fine and good. A good finish to the show. It's just that match itself I thought was relatively disappointing. Now, my general thoughts was that if this is Triple H's baby, which it clearly is, and this is what he does when he's not booking himself and he's in charge of something, and if this is an indication of his future creative vision for the wrestling business, then things might not be so bad in the WWE forever. Things might get a whole lot better. I'd like to see some of the things that they incorporated here be incorporated on Raw and SmackDown on a weekly basis, because this show to me was presented very well. Now, I don't want NXT, obviously, to be a 2-hour show every week. I think part of the genius of it and why so many people like it is the fact that it is only 1 hour. So if it's not all that great, hell, it's over in an hour. It makes it feel a lot better maybe than it was. And if it was really good in that hour, then it feels feels that much better because you didn't take any extra time that was unnecessary to potentially bring everybody down from the high that they've gotten from the show and ruin it, and it makes it feel even better, even greater, if you will. But this, I think, was a good initial kind of introduction to people like me for an NXT show, somebody that wasn't familiar with a lot of the storylines going into it. They did a good job, I think, of giving me backdrop in history on storylines between certain people. They really made sure to spotlight 3 featured matches, sprinkled a couple other things in there, but they made it about 3 feature matches: Cesaro, Sane, Emma and Paige, and Neville and Bo Dallas. And that was really well done. An opening kind of match, a match in the middle, a match at the end that were kind of like the highlights and the focal points of the night. And you're giving these guys a chance to get the experience of performing with more stakes on the line. And that, I think, ultimately is a good thing, too. Like I said, I'm not sure if I'm going to watch NXT every single week or not. If I find out that, if you guys tell me in the comments that it is usually just an hour and it's going to stay an hour every week on the WWE Network, I may start watching it. I don't know if I'm going to start reviewing it every week or not. We'll kind of see how the response is to this one. We'll see how the views are to this one to see if it's worth even doing or not. But this was an overall good show from the WWE. I was actually a little bit impressed. And like I said, for all we could say about God and the Breakfast Club, and a lot of that is true, if this is his vision of the future of WWE and professional wrestling, and these are some of the elements of presentation and character development that we're going to see in the future, I actually feel a little bit better about the future of the WWE going forward. I really do. It was a good show. Let me know what you thought of NXT ArRIVAL. Let me know about your streaming issues on the WWE Network, and if you have concerns about it heading into WrestleMania 30, let me know all of that. I'll see you later.